Right now, the United States is fighting a war in the Middle East that has pushed oil past $100 a barrel. Right now, American airports are in chaos because the government has been shut down for 45 straight days. Right now, a 15-year-old opened fire inside a Texas high school. And right now, in the most extraordinary counterpoint to all of it, NASA is counting down to send humans around the moon for the first time in 53 years. Stay with us. This is the world today. Good evening. In the next 10 minutes, we will take you inside 5 stories that are reshaping the planet. An American war in the Middle East is fracturing NATO and sending oil prices toward historic highs. A 45-day government shutdown has turned American airports into flashpoints of public fury. A teenager shot his teacher inside a Texas high school and then turned the gun on himself. NASA is days away from humanity's first lunar mission in more than half a century, and the United States has quietly reopened its embassy in Venezuela following a military operation that removed Nicolas Maduro from power. Here is what every one of these stories means for you. The war between the United States and Iran is now entering its 5th week, and the stakes have never been higher. Officials confirmed Monday that President Trump threatened what he described as widespread destruction inside Iran if a negotiated settlement is not reached, quote, shortly. Secretary of State Marco Rubio escalated further, publicly lashing out at Spain and other NATO allies for refusing to provide logistical support for American military operations in the region. Spain, sources confirmed, has formally closed its airspace to any United States aircraft involved in the conflict, a stunning act of defiance from a treaty partner. On the battlefield, sources familiar with the situation report that a vital radar aircraft was destroyed when Iran struck a United States military base inside Saudi Arabia, a strike confirmed by photographic evidence reviewed by NBC News. Meanwhile, the White House is actively studying what officials described to reporters as a plan to seize Iran's Kharg island, the terminal responsible for roughly 90% of Iran's oil exports. Such a move, analysts confirmed, would be one of the boldest acts of economic warfare in modern history. United States crude oil topped $100 per barrel Monday morning for the first time since the energy crisis of 2022. The S&P 500 is approaching correction territory. Drivers in Myanmar are queuing for hours at petrol stations. Governments across Asia and Europe are now rationing fuel and deploying free public transit to absorb the shock. Ukraine's President Zelensky, sources said, was quietly urged by Western allies to scale back his own strikes on Russian energy infrastructure for fear of making a global fuel crisis dramatically worse. The United States government shutdown has now reached day 45, and for millions of American travelers, the consequences are impossible to ignore. Transportation Security Administration workers who were not deemed essential under the shutdown's terms began receiving emergency back pay Monday following intervention from the White House, but officials confirmed that the relief is partial and temporary. Border czar Tom Homan told reporters that ICE agents deployed to airports during the shutdown may not leave their posts even after TSA officers are fully paid, a statement that drew immediate alarm from civil liberties groups. NBC News confirmed Monday that ICE agents will be stationed outside Marine Corps graduation ceremonies in South Carolina. Officials described it as a routine enforcement posture. Critics called it a militarization of what should be a celebratory moment for American service members and their families. Frustrated travelers at airports across the country told NBC News they were invoking September 11th in their anger. The shutdown, officials confirmed, has no clear resolution in sight. This broadcast pauses now for a tragedy. A 15-year-old student opened fire at a Texas high school Monday, shooting a teacher before fatally turning the gun on himself, authorities confirmed. The shooting sent students and staff into lockdown. Officials said the teacher was transported to a local hospital with injuries described as serious. The student was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators confirmed the shooting took place during regular school hours. Authorities have not disclosed a motive. Parents arrived at the school shortly after the incident, gathering in anguish outside the perimeter established by law enforcement. Sources close to the investigation told AP News that the weapon used in the attack was a handgun. This is the latest in a string of school-related gun incidents in the United States in 2026. The episode comes as the nation's political attention is consumed by an overseas war and a funding crisis, leaving many school safety advocates, officials confirmed, deeply concerned that the issue is being crowded out of public debate. And now, a moment of profound human ambition. NASA has officially begun the countdown for what officials confirmed is humanity's first crewed mission to the vicinity of the moon in 53 years. The Artemis 2 mission will carry 4 astronauts on a trajectory around the moon, setting the stage for a landing mission to follow. Officials at Kennedy Space Center confirmed Monday that the Space Launch System rocket is on the launch pad and all pre-launch systems are nominal. Sources familiar with the mission described the 4-person crew, which includes the first woman and first Canadian to fly a lunar trajectory, as the most diverse crew ever assigned to a deep space mission. Apollo-era astronauts, speaking to reporters outside Mission Control, confirmed they have been rooting for this moment for decades. One Apollo veteran said, and I quote, "We went to the moon, and now it is their turn to go farther." Officials confirmed that the United States is racing to establish a permanent lunar presence before China, which has publicly stated its own ambition to land on the moon before 2030. Artemis II, sources said, is the proving ground for everything that comes next. In a development that passed quietly beneath the noise of war and shutdown, the United States formally reopened its embassy in Caracas, Venezuela on Monday. Officials confirmed the reopening follows a United States military operation that resulted in the removal of Nicolas Maduro from power, an operation that officials have declined to describe in full detail. The embassy had been closed since 2019, when the Trump administration withdrew diplomatic personnel amid political turmoil. Sources familiar with the diplomatic situation described the reopening as a significant step in normalizing relations with a post-Maduro government. Venezuela holds some of the world's largest proven oil reserves, a fact that analysts confirmed is not lost on an administration currently fighting a war over energy access in the Middle East. The geopolitical signal, officials said, is unmistakable. The United States is repositioning across multiple energy theaters simultaneously. Here is what all of this tells us. In a single day, the United States launched a diplomatic offensive in Venezuela, prosecuted a shooting war in Iran, failed to fund its own airport security, mourned a teenager killed in a Texas school, and pointed its rockets at the moon. These are not separate stories. They are chapters of the same story, a superpower navigating a moment of extraordinary overextension, fighting on multiple fronts, reaching for the stars while struggling to keep the lights on at home. The question history will ask is whether we managed the chaos or were consumed by it. Stay informed, stay engaged. The next chapter writes itself tomorrow. Thank you for watching. If this broadcast gave you clarity today, please subscribe, leave a comment below with the story you want us to go deeper on tomorrow, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a broadcast. We will be here every day, cutting through the noise. See you tomorrow.